First of all, I just want to say that, songs like what we were just listening to, it's interesting to me when it comes to spiritual songs versus solical songs versus carnal songs, if you want to call them that, how fast my spirit responds on the inside to a spiritual song. It's instantaneous. It's, like the flower was like this and goes, ding! The intro song when we started, it was like, that's good. Get us started. And then the second song hit and it was like, bing! Straight back, ready to go. You need to find things in God that do that to you. And I'm just adding that as a quick preamble here because, we don't realize how much we live off of every word. And thereby live off of every song, and thereby live off of every testimony, and live off of every experience. But you have to hang on to the ones that move you the strongest. Hang on to the ones that really motivate you, really get down inside and go straight down and blow up, or stir, or, not everybody is on the same spiritual plane in the same spiritual minute, but the Spirit of God knows how to reach in and pull up and grab a hold of. And I just encourage you to, we've all got CDs, we've all got sermon tapes, or we've all have different books and stuff. If a phrase in a book gets you, put it in your own little quote book so that you can go back and reread it. I was contemplating in the middle of the week, just before I went to bed, and it was really interesting because I was thinking about power, just the statement about power, and power in God or power in this world or power, And the scripture came to mind that says, you shall be endued with power when the Holy Ghost comes upon you. And I go, yeah, that's a good scripture. You shall be endued with power when the Holy Ghost comes upon you. And then I repeated it the second time, and I went, you shall be endued with power. Yeah, okay. And about the fifth time of just repeating it, something inside me went, wait a minute. If I'm endued with power, then... By the time I was in bed, laying in bed just before I went to sleep, I was laying there. I thought, I need to repeat this verse about 150 times till it saturates me, till I really, 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 really believe and receive and can deliver that which was promised to me. But we read it. It's a nice verse. Time to move on. We hear the song over the Christian radio. Ooh, that was a nice song. Really like that one. And we move on. Oh, that was a good sermon. Good job, Pastor. Good job. So what did I preach last week? I don't know. See, when you start to make it so that it gives life to you, as it were, you'll go back to the spiritual closet and go get it out of the shelf again and again and again and again, because it gives you life. And sometimes I think that it's so funny. We're so thick. I'm thick. We're all thick. I think that we go about and it's like, this day is just really dragging. And we don't stop to say, well, why don't I then go get myself some spiritual drink? Why don't I get myself some spiritual meat off the closet shelf, Why do I just keep continuing to trudge on through the trudgy life, trudging my way away? Well, go get yourself something to eat. Go get yourself something gives you nourishment. Verses shouldn't just be for studying, and songs shouldn't just be for listening. You know what I mean? They should be for dining. So, dine on your songs. Enjoy your word. It is bread. It is water. It is life. The title of today's message is The Gift Giver, which is an extension of last week's message called The Gift. So one could say this is part 2 of the gift. But it's actually more than that because I found myself adding to it when I sat down to review it. By way of introduction, I just want to remind us of last week's key point before I go back into this message again. The goodness of God. Core attribute, central to his being. We like quoting the verse that says God is love, and sometimes we don't hang our teeth into that. We don't hook into that very well. Love, how do I know you love me? But it's not too hard to hook yourself into the word good. Because we're always looking for what's good versus what's bad, right versus what's wrong, fair versus unfair, true versus false. Those are kinds of things that we hang into very quickly. And the Spirit of God always wants us to understand that his first rule of operation is goodness. And out of that goodness, he demonstrates that goodness by giving gifts. And we talked about that a little bit last week. Well, today I want to add to that a little bit more just about himself. We'll talk about some of the things he gives, but I want you to hear the fact that he's a giver in this message. He's goodness, and he gave. But now I want you to hear he gave because he's good. There's a slight difference in that. And basically what I did with this message, just so you know, is I thought I'm going to go through and I'm going to look up the verses in English that just talk about Yahweh giving. Old Testament, New Testament, giveth. What does he giveth? What does he give? I started out by going into the New Testament and grabbing about 6 verses. And we'll take them one at a time. And then we'll go through the Old Testament. And then we'll go through a piece on rewards. Small segment on rewards. Matthew 11:28. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. I am a God of rest. I know how to sit down and relax. I created the world in 6 days. On the 7th day, I sat down and rested. I'm the very source of rest. I know how to give rest. I know how to give you rest from your enemies round about. I know how to give you rest from the turmoils in your own soul. I know how to give you rest. But you got to bring your heavies to me. See, the problem is we're carrying our heavies. We're walking around with our heavies. A lot of people grab this verse and they say, mostly they apply it to salvation. They say, see, if you bring your life to Christ, he'll give you rest from your sins, from your weaknesses, from your failings. You'll get saved. But there's a whole lot more in this when you stop to consider that what he's saying is, I realize you're walking under a very heavy load on this planet. I realize that life gets rough. But at any time that you're in the rough, heavy load, feeling like Atlas holding up the world, just hand it over. And I'll give you rest. Hebrews says, labor to enter into the rest. We are actually supposed to be working towards the goal of getting so slick, so cool, so smooth in the spirit that we're gliders. We're not supposed to always be doing 200 pounds of thrust on the throttle. We're not supposed to always be... We're supposed to get the plane up there and then put it on cruise control and fly for a while. Too much of the time we are treating our spirituality and our walk with God as if it's a trudge, as if we got to put a lot of pounds per square inch of pressure into it, as if we got to just go and push and drive. And that's not what God ever intended. What God intended was, as it were, that you'd be like Samson. Gates get in the way, gates get removed. As it were, you're like Elijah. Armies in the way, armies out of the way. King trying to rule over a kingdom. Oh, these people are too great for me. I don't know what to do. What do I do, God, says Solomon. Okay, fine. I'll give you wisdom, knowledge, understanding. I'll tell you what I'll give you the riches to. How's that? Does that bring peace? When God says, I'm going to supply, I'm going to give goodness, I'm going to give to you, he's not doing it because he's trying to somehow sucker you in, somehow try to manipulate you. He's just saying, hey, I love you. I love giving this stuff to you. We spend so much time focusing on God as judge, jury, and executioner. Talking about in religion world. Judge, jury, and executioner. Yeah. I'm going to slap you upside the head. You can get on. All I got on them verses, slap you upside the head. Well, sure, if you're going to be a brat, you might get a slap or two. But you got to understand the heart that's behind the dad. And if there's one thing I got when I was putting this together, it was like, this is real interesting. He is just 100% wanting to always hand things out. You know what I'm saying? He's just plain a giver. That's why I titled the message, The Gift Giver. He says, I will give you rest. I will take it. All I require of you is you come to me. Matthew 16:19 says, and I will give unto thee the keys of the kingdom of heaven. And whatsoever thou shalt bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. Whatsoever thou shalt loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. And we can argue until we're blue in the face over what those keys are. But I want you to see something really important here. He says, I'll give unto you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Stop for a minute and ask yourself, what's a kingdom made of? What's a kingdom made of? A kingdom, a true full kingdom, has economics, resources, has military might, has land, proportions, right? It has rights and privileges. It has authorities and structures. It has laws, rules, regulations, yes. It's got, in this case, an innumerable company of angels, a whole bunch of saints that have gone before us, and a king who actually loves and cares about his subjects. Actually cares about his kingdom. So when he says, I've given you the keys to the kingdom, you know, I was watching, what was it called, American Idol, and Clay Aiken and some of these other singers who have won. One of the things that happens when they come home to their hometown, the mayor turns around and says, and here's the key to the city for a year. I always wondered, what does the backside say? And with the rights and privileges thereof? Or does it open bank accounts? What does this key do? You know, it must give them some kind of privileges, or they wouldn't just give them the key to the kingdom. There has to be some fine print, right? Or is it an empty cup? To borrow from my earlier statement. But when Christ said to his church, I'm giving you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, he was saying, I've unlocked it for you. Here, I'm headed away. I'm going to go. I'll be back in a little bit. Take care of biz. Take care of biz. If you look at the parable, that's what it says. It says, a man went away, gave talents to those who had assignments, and said, now, you go work on it. That is a giver's heart. That's a trusting heart. That's somebody who's saying, I know you're going to do all right. I gave it to you because you're going to do all right. I'm the giver. What do you need to bind and loose? What do you need to deal with? The keys that, you got to stop and think for a minute, the keys that Christ held were unstoppable. His Father gave him a set of keys that were unstoppable. And he turned around and handed those keys to us. He turned around and said to us, now, what do you need? Here are the keys. And by the way, Peter, they're not just for you. I want you to hand them all down to the next generation, the next generation, the next generation, and just keep it going. Those keys have been passing down since the beginning of the church. We call them the spiritual gifts. We call them the Word of God. We call them anointing. We call them a number of things. That key ring has a number of things on it that are scripturally based. Hey, you can choose to use the key if you want or not. It's your choice. You can pick one key off the ring. You can take all 10 keys off the ring. But you will never be able at the end of your life to stand before God and say, you didn't give me the keys. Because he made sure he did, because he's a giver. Luke 21:15 says, for I will give you a mouth and wisdom which all your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay nor resist. Amen, Lord. I want that. I will give you a mouth and wisdom that nobody's going to be able to resist. There is a wisdom that comes from below, and there's a wisdom that comes from above, and there comes a place where that wisdom changes everything. God, who is the source of wisdom, was not stingy with his wisdom. He said, if any man wants wisdom, ask. That's simple. Now, he didn't put a bunch of trips and traps, and as it were, you don't have to go through Indiana Jones's 5 steps through the cave to get to the end of the prize. All he said was ask. But he did put the one qualifier, keep asking till you receive. Don't stop. Because the test of faith is not about God, his ability, or his nature. The test of faith is your endurance. The test of faith is, will you keep seeking till it happens? That's the test of faith. Do you really want it? How bad do you want it? Will you save up for it? Will you patiently wait for it? Will it be valuable to you when you get it? God could give you a billion gifts. And you could be a spoiled brat, you could be a rich kid spoiled brat and go, oh yeah, well yeah, I know. Lord gives me the truth. Oh well. Yeah, you know. I mean, I could get that way. Yeah, I can say this word anytime. It's full of revelation, understanding, wisdom, and knowledge. I could do it anytime I want. I just don't want to. What a spoiled brat I'd be. I could say, yeah, I have all faith is to move mountains, but you know, I really don't feel like moving any mountains right now. Can I have some other gift, please? I don't want to do the faith-moving mountain gift. So we could act like spiritual brats. We could behave like rich kids who just throw their toys away after we use them the first time. God wants to make sure we really want what he gives. Because once he gives it to us, we're accountable for its use. We're responsible. We become instantly adults. He will give you a mouth with wisdom. He will give you a mouth with truth. You can't make that up by yourself. People can try to understand God and understand his word and understand the Spirit. But if God doesn't come in from behind and energize you so you can understand it, you can't understand it. And that's the way it is. That's why the church world has taken so long to get to where it's going. As more and more people accept the fact that he's a giver, and we're supposed to be the, therefore, receiver, then we will open up our radio channel and start receiving. But if you're going to keep the dial on off, or keep the volume on mute, you're not going to hear the transmission. The giver has gave, and the receiver has said, not here today. What I'm trying to say is, open the dials. What I'm trying to say is, once you accept the fact that the transmission started and is not stopping, he is not an absentee landlord sitting out there waiting for us to somehow do something all by ourselves. But you realize instead he's 24/7 available and knocking on the door. And all he wants to know is if you'll open the door and let him come in and eat with you. Then you know that 24/7 you can have God in your heart. 24/7 you can have God active. 24/7 you can overturn the money changers in your temple. 24/7 you can go look and say, this should not be in the temple of God and you're coming out of my life. And you can scourge it and throw it out. You can look at your little fig tree that isn't producing any fruit and say, you're supposed to produce fruit by now. I hereby curse you. You're out of my life. I'm going to plant me another tree. Catch the parallelism here. You can have it. It's a funny thing to say it's all yours. Nobody believes it's all yours. It's got to be a catch. There's no catch. The only catch was, would we push for it? Pastor's Corner this morning. The violent take it by force. They press in. Revelation 2:28. He says, and I will give him the morning star. Kind of a little mystery verse of statements, right? I'll give him the morning star. Put it this way. You're going to get everything that belongs to Christ. You're going to get everything that belongs to the kingdom of heaven. You're going to get an inheritance when you get to the other side that is going to absolutely blow your mind. It will. It's going to blow your mind. You're going to say, but I don't understand. I was expecting certain blessings down here I never got. What's that for? He says, oh, those for the ones that I didn't answer you this time. I saved some of it up for over here. That was on interest. Those things I gave you right away. These things I withheld. These things I knew I could reap a greater reward if I waited just a little bit longer. And do you realize that because I did this, you did that? Went to the movie Ray this weekend. Only would say one statement out of the movie. It was interesting to me the crucial turns in his life when he could have ended up not ever being the great Ray Charles. He could have stayed in the rinky-dink band that he started with. But then there came out an altercation, and that altercation drove him out the door. And because he got driven out the door, he went on to the next phase of his life. Bad door, good next step. And then he'd come into something that was really lucrative and really good. Good door, bad entrance. Go downhill, go uphill. This is life. We do this. But with God, because he knows the end of a man, and I just read it somewhere, it's the Jeremiah passage that says, I know the end I have for you to give you goodness. That's the end. It doesn't matter what life does in here. It matters that this is always growing uphill, headed for God. Because the giver is not about to have you stand in front of his throne at the end of your life and say, you didn't keep your promise. when he promised blessing. He promised goodness. He promised the universe. We're never going to get to the place where we can outdo him. We're going to be surprised. But you have to keep in your heart this I will give statement. You got to keep in this heart, I give. I'm a giver. Revelation 21:6. He said unto me, it is done. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely. Freely. Pastor's corner this morning, I put in free, free, free. I underlined it, and I decided, it doesn't even need to be underlined. Because there are so many things that God is giving us free. All he ever asked of us was that we walk with him. That's all he ever asked of us. All he ever asked of us was we acknowledge the fact that he is creator, we are creation, he is salvation, and we can't save ourselves, and then it's over from then on. Then it's a simple matter of walk the talk. If you fall, get back up, and keep coming back boldly before the throne on the blood-sprinkled way of Christ, because his arms are like this, and will stay this way for your entire life. That's why a person can go their whole life bucking God sometimes, and at the last minute somehow they still make it in. They finally get the point. While somebody else might try to hold off and wait till the end of their life, and God goes, I can tell when you're trying to fake me out. I can tell when you're not trying. All he ever said was, look at me. Look at me. Quit looking away from me. Adam, come out from behind the bush. Eve, tell me the real story. Cain, what are you doing here? Judas, what was that? Peter, Saul, what are you doing persecuting my kids? Huh? What are you doing persecuting my kids? Who are you, Lord? I'm the Lord you're persecuting. Get it? Oh. Okay. And then we got Paul the Apostle. This is our God. This is our God whose hand is always doing this, coming right through the sky at you. He's called the Hound of Heaven in one verse. But, you know what's interesting is he's not coming through to go, gotcha, you raggy mutt dog, I'm going to shake the toes off of you. I'll get you to listen to me. See, that's how humans do it. That's how we do it. We think by might and force we're going to shake them into sensibility. God's got a much slicker way, I discovered, at least in my life. You know what he does? He says, okay, don't need my help? Go ahead. And I trip and I fall and I get mud on my face and I hurt my arm and I'm bleeding. And I finally come before God and go, you didn't help me. I did that once, really blatantly. Really blatantly. I said to him, why didn't you help me? Why didn't you tell me? You know what his reply was? He actually replied. He said, because you, and I won't tell you the rest of the sentence. That's my business. But it started with, because you. I went, but. So you're going to find that God's always tap, 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 tap as you go through the life. But at every tap, tap, there's a blessing hiding in there. And every time you ignore the tap, tap, the blessing disappears. This is a price tag. Sometimes he'll bring it back later because he's really generous. But when you stop to realize he is not going to stop, he is going to chase all the days of our life because he's got a pile this big of stuff he wants to give us. And quite frankly, it doesn't make any sense to him why we'd refuse him. But he gave us the right to refuse him by giving us this free will that is godlike that says, I don't want to talk to you today. I don't want to talk to this person today. I don't want to talk to my boss today. And I don't want to talk to God today. And that's godlike free will. Powerful. Dangerous. You know what I'm saying? But that doesn't change God. That doesn't change who he is. He's still waiting all the day long. Might be a little upset at times. Might have slapped him pretty good or poked him in the eye, but he's a giver. He's going to turn right around and be a giver because he says as soon as you turn, how many verses has he said that? As soon as you turn back, as soon as you turn your heart, as soon as an unrighteous man goes back to what he was supposed to do, you'll find I'm right there. I never left. How do we know that God is going to give us these blessings that are yet spoken? How do we know? Because his very giving nature is recorded all through the book. I want to go through the Old Testament and play you some verses. Exodus 16:29. See, for that the Lord has given you the Sabbath. Therefore he giveth you on the 6th day the bread of 2 days. Abide ye every man in his place, let no man go out of his place on the 7th day. Bottom line, manna from heaven, they needed the food out in the wilderness. They weren't about to farm out there. Wrong climate. God says, I'm not stupid. I know I brought you out here someplace where you can't raise crops. So therefore it's my responsibility to take care of you, isn't it? So I'm going to give you manna. I'm going to drop something down that you're going to have every day of the week. However, you see, I made this rule that says you got to rest on a 7th day. And you're not allowed to break that rule, are you? But you got to eat, and I'm supplying the food. So what are you going to do? Starve for a day? Am I so stupid as to make a rule that contradicts my blessing? No. I'll just make sure that the day before you rest, you have double the portion to collect so that you can use it for 2 days and then go back to doing it the way you're supposed to on the next day. Back to work. Think about the giving nature of God, that he actually counterbalances his commands up against his blessings. You say, I don't understand. I wasn't praying and God blessed me. Yeah, but you don't understand. You took a Sabbath rest in the closet back there 2 weeks ago. And he said, during that day when you were resting in me, I was stockpiling. Because I'm a giver. I'm going to make sure you're compensated correctly for serving me. I'm not going to let you starve out. But you have to be able to accept that. So when you do what God asks, and it seems like you're being deprived because that's what God asked, I guarantee you the giver is going to outgive you. You got to see that picture. He's going to outgive you. You're going to think you gave up something that day, that week, that month. And you get nothing in return. And then 2 or 3 days later, you're going to get a blessing that doesn't seem to be tied to anything. Just like, why did God do that? Doesn't make any sense why God did that. You're even going to get blessings. I'll tell you this right now. You're going to get blessings in God. You're going to get spiritual nourishment. You're going to get things that aren't even tied to your prayers. They're tied to mine. They're tied to somebody in China. They're tied to the Polish people who are praying for America right now. Because the God who delivers the gift is paying attention to all of his family who's requesting the gift. And if you're not smart enough to ask for it, there are a few brothers out there who are. And when you start getting smart enough to ask for it, you're going to ask for it for them too. Because you're going to become a giver. You're going to not just always have prayers that say, give me, give me, give me. You're just going to be receiving. And you're going to be so full, you're going to want to become giver. Blesser. Hander-outer. God wants to raise up people that he can use to hand things through. He wants to give double portions at the times when he's saying, I need you to be fallow here, but I'm going to bless you here. I'm going to have you a little bit of wilderness experience here, but I'll put you back on the mountain here and double bless you. Job, book of Job says he went through the loss of everything, right? Lost it all. What happened at the end of the book of Job? He got back double. He got back double. That's the same principle. I realized there was this contest. I realized the adversary of your soul wanted to put you to a test. I realize you're under it. When I'm done with this, you're getting double. This is the heart of a giver. This is not the heart of a measurer, somebody who's metering, like we do. We meter. I'm going to meter out how much love I give you this week. I'm going to meter how many smiles or no smiles, or I'm going to meter out how much money I give you out of my coffers. We measure everything. God doesn't do it quite that way. He says, here, big bucket, take it. Next day, here, big bucket, take it. Oh, well, did you realize you forgot a bucket back there? No, I didn't, Lord. Well, go get it. Still sitting there. That's God. Exodus 20, verse 12 says, honor thy mother and thy father, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord God giveth thee. One thing that pops up here in a few verses is there's a number of verses where God talks about giving the land to them, bringing Israel into their land. One of the reasons why the wars over there by Israel land are going to continue until a certain day is because they have been promised land. And they know exactly how much of that land is supposed to be theirs. And God has promised it to them that one day they will have it all. He promised it back here when he gave it to them initially, and he said it's going to be yours forever. There's a couple of verses that actually say that. So anybody right now who has any piece that belongs to them is eventually going to go back to them. And I guarantee you it'll be like Job. They're going to get double. Because the God of the universe doesn't weigh time like we do. So just as I read some of these, you'll hear this, the land, the land. Realize that's your spiritual land too. That's what you're getting in God too. God has promised you an estate. He's promised you an inheritance. He's promised you a place. And he's going to give it to you. But you have to believe for it. But his point here is, if you honor your mother and your father, then your days will be long upon the land. It's a really interesting phrase because he puts a corollary of our relationship to each other to the relationship to the blessing. How can you say you love God and hate your brother? New Testament verse. Same principle. How can you say you love God and hate your brother? How can you assault that which God has created? How can you attack Christ whom God sent? He says in a different verse. You can't. Because the giver is giving the gift, and if you reject the gift, then you reject the giver of the gift that he gave. That's why to reject Jesus Christ is to reject God. Because the blessing that he's trying to hand down through his Son can't be given because the Son's not been accepted by anybody. So to those who have accepted, the gift is ours. The blessing is ours. And the benefits are ours. As it were, we've gained spiritual land and spiritual coinage. Deuteronomy 2:29, second half of the verse. I shall pass over Jordan into the land which the Lord our God giveth us. That is a statement of faith. I will pass over to the land which our God has given us. Deuteronomy 4:40. Thou shalt keep therefore his statutes, his commandments which I command thee this day, that it may go well with thee, and with thy children after thee, that thou mayest prolong thy days upon the earth which the Lord thy God giveth thee forever. The benefits of walking with God include prolongevity. Prolongevity. How do you like that one, huh? You get longevity. You get to be prolonged. You get to have strength. You get to have substance. You get to have spiritual insights that go on and go on and go on. God says that to Israel under an old covenant, but he also says it to us in the new covenant, because he's saying to us, I've just given you a different kind of land. I've just given you a different kind of inheritance. But it's no different. The same tenacity that an Old Testament saint had to say, this land was given to me by God and I'm going to keep it, is the same thing we have to say when we say, Christ has been given to me by God and I'm not going to let any man take my crown. Period. Period. Deuteronomy 8:18 came up when I was going through this. I was glad it did. Thou shalt remember the Lord thy God, for it is he that giveth thee power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant, which he sware unto thy fathers, as it is this day. I just picked up a book by a minister a couple of weeks ago, a real small one, about this big, on financial success, how to have financial success. And the first thing he said in his introduction was, he was struggling with finances, just struggling with business, his business. And he realized one day he was making a mistake. He hadn't made God his business partner. And he saw this verse and realized the purpose of the blessing was to establish the covenant, so that God's glory would be seen in the earth. And so he changed. And he's now a multimillionaire. He changed. Why? Why did God give it to him? Why is he so special? Why are there people out there who have more than any other people? Come on. It's because some people believe and some people do not. Yeah, there is riches that comes from this world that's from our adversary, and he will offer you the kingdoms of this world and the glory thereof, if you'll only bow down and worship him. But I promise you, it will be sand in your teeth, and it will come with lots of problems. The blessing of God maketh rich, and he adds no sorrow to it. That's what he says. The issue here is, though, you have to see the key phrase. For it is he that giveth thee power to get wealth. That makes it a gift. That means there's an awful lot of people running around out there who are highly successful that know deep down in their heart, I didn't do this. This was a gift. Now, think about this for a minute. If you are dying and somebody, let's hypothetically say, offers you their kidney, or you're dying and somebody offers you some other body part and you live, wouldn't you from that day on be aware of the fact that you're walking on borrowed time or extra time? See, you died back here and somebody stopped you from dying just before you died and gave you a heart transplant. You died back here. You was just about off the planet. You couldn't hold it together. And God gave. And that's the key that you got to see. We will continue to struggle. We will continue to wrestle until we can get a hold of this a little bit deeper. But you got to start with God as a giver. And it dawned on me, you got to start with God as a giver. We keep trying to approach God like we're pulling a slot machine or doing a magic formula or doing some kind of, if I can just get my ducks all lined up in a row, then open comes the gate of the blessing of God and all this goodness comes down to me. Because I got the magic combination just right. A little obedience, a little humility, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, got it all worked out. And that releases the power of God. How about flipping it around and being a kid? Dad, got $5? First you got to believe that God is, and then you got to believe that He's a rewarder of them who diligently seek Him. First you have to believe He's a giver, and then you have to go ask and keep asking till you receive. And that's what we're talking about here. Every verse I'm coming across hits this same point. I'll give you the wealth. I'll give you the blessing. I'll give you the knowledge. I'll give you the wisdom. I'll give it to you. You will never be able to boast and say you did it all by yourself. Now, yes, you're working together with Him. Yes, you're working as a joint heir. Yes, you're going to be in communion. But you're always going to know that the source was not you. And as soon as you get to the place where that is the core of your existence, then He's able to give more. Deuteronomy 12:10. When you go over Jordan and dwell in the land which the Lord your God giveth you to inherit, and when He giveth you rest from your enemies round about, so shall you dwell in safety. Land and rest. Deuteronomy 19:1. When the Lord thy God has cut off the nations whose land the Lord thy God giveth thee, and thou succeedest them, and dwellest in their cities and in their houses. ... Now that is a scary sentence. It's scary because God's saying, I will reapportion who's on what land. I'm going to take it away from them who will not serve, and I will give it to them who will serve. Because it's my land. And that's what the world's all about. And the devil comes in and he says, no, it's mine. I'm going to conquer this and conquer that and conquer this and conquer that. And then there are people who walk through history who seem to be able to just stop those roving armies from taking whatever they want. Example in the Middle Ages where there was a man of God and an army was coming right through his town. And he stood at the front gate and he said, in the name of the Lord, you will not touch this town, or I will. It's recorded in history. And the French army politely went through that town, did not rape, pillage, or take a dime, went off, fought their war, came back the other direction, and met the same guy on the other side of the city saying, again I say, and history records that army went through that town safely, did not touch anything, and went back home, raped and pillaging, I'm kidding, I don't know if they raped or not, but conquering as they went. Can't remember his name right now. I'll get it to you hopefully by the end of the day. But I was stricken by that story. One man who knew his God said, this town's under protection. Try me. I ain't going to touch no man of God who talks like that, man. I ain't going to touch no man of God that knows that God is big and willing to respond. I ain't going to take that chance. You know what I mean? The devil does the same thing, you know. He wants to come through and stomp all over your existence. You got to decide if you're going to be like Shamgar and pull up your ox goad and stand in front of 1,000 creatures and say, my land, given to me by God. It's a question of whether or not it's given to you by God. Just make sure you got it from God. Then you can defend it all you want. You can be as defensive as you want to be. Defend your crown. Defend your spiritual gifts. Defend your spiritual life. Defend anything God's given you. But make sure that you're in Him 100%. Joshua 1:11 says, "Pass through the host and command the people, saying, Prepare your victuals." I love King James. "Prepare your meals, for within 3 days you shall pass over this Jordan to go and to possess the land which the Lord your God giveth you to possess it." You go possess it. It's going to be yours, all yours. Job 32:8. "There is a spirit in man, and the inspiration of the Almighty giveth them understanding." The inspiration of the Almighty gives them understanding. That means if He wasn't willing to give the inspiring, we wouldn't get the understanding. It's a gift. Anything. How many people have you talked to through life who say, "I don't get this book. I just don't get it. I've looked at it, I've read it, I don't get it." I was the same way. When I first got my first Bible at 10, I opened a book, I said, "I don't get this part, that don't make any sense. I don't know what that's all about. What part of the book can I understand?" And I hit Proverbs. And Proverbs made sense. Well, of course, at a 10-year-old's level, God knew I had to build my character parts first. So He made sure that part was lit up and the rest was just dark. A little while later, the Psalms came into play. And then it was Proverbs and Psalms. And then it was the Gospels. And then for years it was none of the rest of the book. And then there came a day when all of a sudden I realized, you know what? This is an amazing book. I can't touch this book that God doesn't do something with me in it. I cannot. That's why I can give you little testimonies like I did about laying up in the middle of the night going, "You shall receive power from on high." By the 8th time it's coming through. You know what I mean? Dead letter, now live spirit. Word that doesn't quite hit all the way, and all of a sudden, boom, there it is. Got it. Now I know what you're talking about. I know exactly why you're after. I know what you want from me, and that's why I call it the neon sign when a verse just goes beep, 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 beep. It's a joke I have from when I first got saved. I didn't know enough of the book, so I would just read until a scripture would jump out at me, until it just nailed me to the wall. I call those neon signs because it's like going down the street and here comes the neon sign among all the other signs. The key point here is God is the one who does that. He's the one that illuminates the Word. He's the one who illuminates the truth. He's the one who stirs it up. It's the inspiration of the Almighty that gives understanding. It's the Spirit coming through. The word inspiration in itself is a very good word. In spiritus, in the Spirit, from the Spirit, through the Spirit. I want to be inspired. I want to be creative because the Creator is coming through me. I want to create. I want something out of nothing. Job 35:10. None saith, "Where is God my Maker, who giveth songs in the night?" This is a sad statement. I want to give songs in the night. Do you know how I know that verse is true? Because the Psalms of David, he said, were written while he was up on the hill in the night. He got songs in the night. And he took those songs, and he went down to King Saul, who was having a real bad multi-personality problem. Hate the guy, love the guy. Hate the guy, love the guy. Javelin the guy, don't want to javelin the guy. I don't know what I want to do with this guy. This was Saul dealing with David in his mind. Later. But before that, it was Saul dealing with somebody else, for all we know. Because they brought David in to sing these songs that they had heard this guy David had good songs. Good music ministry guy. Not a bad CD, really. We should send that CD over to so-and-so. They seem to be demonically possessed. Oh, I don't know if a CD can change a life. It can if the inspiration of the Lord was put into the song so that when it's sung, here comes the giver coming down and through the song. Because God is following His Word around to bless it. He is following His songs around to bless them. That's why they work. That's why the anointing works. Because if God inspires something, if He imports into it, He's going to protect it. Because He's a giver. So why would He want to give you a song and bless you and not have 1,000 million people more blessed? hey, he can milk that for the rest of the century. I have books in my library, I kid you not, I have books in my library that were written back in the 50s by men of God. And I love reading them. You know why? Because I said the same thing back there we're saying now. The message hasn't changed. Only the amount of people yielding to it have. Some of them quote the same verses with a little bit different see of how God dealt with it during that time period. I have a book by Billy Sunday that I just love reading his little biography and how he would stand up and speak. And I'm going, right on, brother, you should have been here in this generation to preach it. Because the truth never changes. God being giver is going to bless and bless and bless his word all through. So, I don't know, write a gospel tract, guys. Write something that can grow. Put a CD out of your own. Let the Lord inspire something. We all need to do that. We need to believe that God wants to give to us songs in the night, give to us scriptures to write, give to us messages to preach, give to us gifts to operate, give to us of himself, partakers of the divine nature, flowing it out to anybody we can touch. That's what we need to believe for. But we will always know, not I, but Christ that liveth in me. Didn't do it myself. Psalm 18:49. Therefore will I give thanks unto thee, O Lord, among the heathen, and sing praises unto thy name. Great deliverance giveth he to his king, and showeth mercy to his anointed, to David, and to his seed forevermore. This is a song. This is a thank you. This is a way of acknowledging, I acknowledge that you are my deliverer, and you just give me deliverance. How many Old Testament battles are recorded where they didn't fight the fight? He just gave them the spoil. Rattle the trees, away goes the army. Bounce off the water, red light, so they think it's a sea of blood, and the army thinks, oh my goodness, there's been a slaughter, we better get out of here. Battle over. We always think we got to fight everything that haunts us. We think we got to fight every human that opposes us, and we think we got to fight everything that comes at us. When all we have to do is tuck away in him and say, give me strategy, give me the approach, tell me the right answer, and I'll do exactly what you tell me to do. And it works. Hearts change, people change, things change, businesses change. It changes. But we have to be willing to go after him for that. We have to say, thou art a giver, and I need to receive answers. I acknowledge I cannot figure this out. And a king, it's a significant statement to say that you give the deliverance to a king. Because when you're a king or you're president of the United States and running the whole free world, as they say, imagine being an Air Force One running all over the universe. An X number of people hate you. An X number of people want to kill you on sight. An X number of people are secretly working in the backdrop to remove you, do you in, do this, do that. You got evil on all sides. And you're going to fly out there with a smile on your face and not be afraid, not be worried, not go for the next 4 years not sleeping because somebody might bomb the snot out of your whatever. You know what I'm saying? What is it like to stand in God and say, I will not be afraid, I will not be ashamed, I will not feel guilty, I will not worry, because the God who is greater than all is with me 24/7. A king has to have that. A high ruler has to have that. We need to come into that more and climb up there. I found myself singing a piece of a song this morning. It's not a song I've ever heard. It was a song that just came to me. And the key line in it was, I will climb the mountain till I get up to you. I will climb the mountain till I get up to you. I don't know where that came out of me. I will ride the river till I get through. I will ride the river till I get through. Just came out of my spirit somewhere. Came out from down in my tummy. You know. That's what I live by. That's what you live by. But I have to believe that God's the one who's going to get me there. Psalm 68:35. O God, 68:35. O God, thou art terrible out of thy holy places. The God of Israel is he that giveth strength and power unto his people. He gives strength and power. How much strength do you need? How much power do you need? How much wisdom do you need? How much understanding do you need? Ends with the phrase, blessed be God. Absolutely. I decided, just as a tangent, I decided to go through the scriptures and see how many verses have the word blessed in it and just read them all while I was doing this message. I just did it really fast. Sometimes it's really good to just go really fast. Just read the verse and go on. Read the verse and go on. And just let it slap you. It was like, bless God, bless God, bless the Lord, bless God, bless God, bless God, bless God, I'm blessed, bless God, bless God, bless God, bless the Lord, bless God, bless, I'm blessed. It's really interesting to feel that I don't know, it feels like the sound of that cart and the wheels when you're riding a bike, you know, bless God, bless God, bless God, bless God, bless God, bless God. Yeah, absolutely, bless God. Such a good God. Psalm 127:2. It is vain for you to rise up early, to sit up late, to eat the bread of sorrows. Let me rewrite that for you. It is vain for you to rise up early, to sit up late, and to eat the bread of sorrows. In other words, hear it for what it says. Quit worrying! It doesn't do you any good to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to worry about your next day activities. It doesn't matter to lay there at night going, what do I do, what do I do, what do I do, what do I do, what do I do? To eat the bread of sorrows. Oh, I was done me wrong song. 5 hours later, you're still, I was done me wrong song. How about forgive, forget, and move on? I forgive, I forget, I move on. How about release? How about heavy burdens to the Lord? How about God come in and give me life? The rest of the verse says, for so he gives his beloved sleep. Why should you be worried, God says? Go to bed. I got it under control. I'm hanging around. There's always tomorrow. I didn't go to sleep. In fact, the truth of the matter is if you'll go to sleep and relax in him, he'll probably seal up some instruction inside of you and prep you for the next day. Because he said, I'm going to give you wisdom. I'm going to put it in your mouth. I'm going to put things inside you. I'm going to plant it. And the thing that's always locked it in for me, any verses where he says, I'm going to put it in your mouth, I'm going to put it in your heart, I'm going to put it in your mind, it dawned on me, the easiest imagery to grab a hold of that is the birds that fly south, then north, then south, then north. You know, the birds that go to Capistrano and back. If God can put it in those creatures to do what we call instinct, meaning they got to go there. The salmon's just got to go upstream. He's just gotta. That's something God put down in the encoding in there. So if he says to me, I'd like to write it on the tables of your heart, I'd like to put my word on your heart so it's that easy to do, and I can see that he can do that with creatures that are dumber than me, then I have to assume he can do it with me, who's dumber than him. You know what I'm saying? So Lord, go ahead, here, do some writing. Recode me. Rewire me. Change me. Alter me. That's what repentance is all about. Change and altering. That's what any of that's about, is giving him the opportunity to rewrite that. So while you're in sleep, being at peace in him, letting him worry about tomorrow, he then can encode you to be ready for it. Jesus prayed for Judas in advance. Prayed for Peter in advance. Okay? Saying, Satan's going to come and try to sift you. But don't worry, got you covered in advance. Your God is going to seal up things in you in advance of your need in the future. And some things he'll give you in that hour and give it to you that moment. You got to believe he's always working on your best interest. You're also always working on his best interest. And where the two conflict, he ain't working on it. He gives sleep. Psalm 144:10 says he gives salvation unto kings. He gives salvation unto kings. Kings don't earn it. Kings don't conquer it. Kings don't gain it. They just get it. So yeah, but there's some pretty wicked kings out there. Yeah. And Egypt was sunk because their king wouldn't take the gift. Remember that? 10 tries. God gave Pharaoh 10 tries. What a patient God. 10 times. All I'm asking is let my people go. I won't harm you. Now, Let my people go. I won't harm you. No. Okay. Now because you didn't, not only am I going to take my people, I want you to give all your spoils to them too.
Yeah.
It now comes with interest. Now you're going to chase my people? Now wait a second. Just one moment here. I came to you nicely. I came nice again. I came demonstratively nice. I came blatantly nice. Now I've even put it into the hearts of your own people to hand over their gold, silver, jewelry, and everything else so they can go hike it out. Hasn't the point hit yet? I'm on their side, but I don't want to harm you. I mean, you know the scene. It's the classic movie scene. Wrong answer. I tried to be nice. I tried to be a giver. He would have let Egypt continue on even though they were with false gods if he would have just been willing to let my people go. Because it was time. They were supposed to go. I hate to tell this world this, but there's going to come a day when God's going to say, these Christians, they've been mine, and you're locking them up in your business temples, and you're locking them up in your business pyramids, and you're locking them up. And I want them. They got a work to do. And I'm not going to let them rot in your business prison. And if you don't let them go now, I will take your spoils and I will hand it to them. Now, do you believe that? Do you believe that? Do you believe that? Does that match the pattern of the heart of God and everything He's ever done? I say it does. He knows how to transfer things. He knows how to transfer resources when necessary. But He always comes as a gentleman first and says, let my people go. Let them serve me. Don't interfere. You keep pushing me out of your schools and your businesses and your laws and your religions, and I keep coming back to you. Please, let it be. Please, let it be. I don't have to. Watch it. There comes a marker. There comes a marker. And God may just hand over some more power to compensate for all this other stuff going sour. Nothing prophetic about that sentence, huh, Lord? Moving on. Proverbs 2:6, the Lord giveth wisdom. Out of His mouth cometh knowledge and understanding. Out of His mouth comes knowledge and understanding. Ain't out of your mouth. Proverbs 3:34, surely He scorneth the scorners, but He gives grace unto the lowly. He gives grace. Grace isn't something we earn. Grace isn't something that we magically perform the right way and somehow that got the grace of God for us. Grace is something that's requested. It's walking up to the, I got a coupon, it says I get a free window. I got a coupon in the mail. Somebody handed me this coupon. It says in this coupon that I can have this. Do you know how I know I'm telling you the truth? Because that's how I got Spirit-filled. Somebody handed me the coupon, made me read the fine print. And after a few hours of carefully looking at all the verses they showed me and everything they lined out and putting it all together, I said, just like that on my bed, I was kneeling in front of my bed, I said, well, God, it's obvious. You said right here, this is for me. I want it. No reason you ain't going to give it to me. Spirit-filled in less than 7 days. The issue here is we have to accept the coupon. We got to accept the free message. We are nothing but salesmen. Yes, we are. We're salesmen. But I guarantee you, best product in the universe. Life. Life. From God. Given from God, a generous God. Ecclesiastes 2:26. For God giveth to a man that is good in his sight wisdom and knowledge and joy. There is a dark side, as it were. There is the other side of the coin. To the sinner He giveth travail, to gather, to heap up, that he may give it to him that is good before God. We cannot forget that God is both good and severe. The issue is, I want to give. I want to bless. And I want nobody going to hell, like a fire, outer darkness, and I don't want anybody on this planet without joy and knowledge and all that we can give you. Right? However, here's the problem. I'm creator, you're created. All things were created for my pleasure, ultimately. And I gave you something that I had to give you, otherwise I couldn't have those of you who would give me what you're going to give me. I gave you the right to say yes or no like I do. And I promised you, if you say yes, I'll say yes every time. Every time. If you say no, I'll still work you. If you say no, I'll still work with you. If you say no, I'll still work you. But I can read the heart. I can read that little heart meter down there. I can tell when you're faking me out. I can tell when you're telling me the truth. I can tell when you finally decided somewhere deep down inside, God be damned! And as soon as you say that, or as soon as you blaspheme the Holy Ghost a certain way, I can see that. No human being can see that. There is a marker where all of a sudden he says, that crop is now dead. I want all assets transferred from that crop to this. The parable of the 10 talents, if you go read the New Testament parable, is exactly the same statement. To the man who had, he was given from the guy who hid his talent, and it was transferred over. Because the one who hid his talent was not doing it. He wasn't in God. He was fearful and afraid and looking, instead of coming to God and saying, show me how to invest it, show me how to use it, show me how to do something with it. And that's why his funds were transferred over to the guy who was walking in the blessing. It seems, from a natural point of view, unfair. The guy who was the richest got the restus. Yeah, but the reason he got the restus was because he came back to God and said, I have given you an increase. Here's my increase. And the other guy came back to God and said, I chicken. I hit it. I bushel basket over my light. It's time to throw off the bushel baskets. It's time to dig our way out of a hole if we have to. It's time to tell everybody we can talk to. Our God is an awesome God, a giving God, and He will labor with us all the day long. That's why I read you that verse last week first. They were supposed to walk through the camp saying, God was walking through the camp with them saying, I am Yahweh God, I am merciful, I am long-suffering, I will endure into generations, I am a good God, I am full of goodness, I am full of grace, I am full of this. That's what you tell my people. So that if this over here happens, you understand, I really didn't want to do this. There is a place where there is no choice for God but to make an action against. But He will always work to try to get us to the end of our life to the plus. You have to be pretty stubborn to buck God all the way through your life. I'm grateful that He came after me early. I have to marvel. I just marvel at it. How do you take a guy who's recruited in 10th grade by a warlock and flip him into a preacher? Right here. It's the grace of God. He don't care how dark it gets. He can look down that little heart down there. He goes, that heart wants truth. That heart has a love of truth. That soul would serve me if it was given half a chance. How did he look down at Saul and know that Saul was going to flip over and become Paul the Apostle and run all over the world and be beaten and pummeled and boiled in oil and do it willingly? Do it willingly. Because he knew that once he flipped Saul over, Saul deep down inside understood as God. And his whole heart was, he didn't want these blasphemers running around spitting on God wrong. He was defending God. Just wrong. That's something God can use. An advocate? Hey, I'll flip him. Somebody who's a little stubborn, I can flip him. Somebody who's really going to stick it in my eye, I'm going to work him. But you got to understand, it's coming out of that love. It's that heartbeat. It's that goodness. It's that grace. It's that mercy. And even when he says, I'm going to transfer that from him to him, that good is going to go over to him. Because A, God doesn't waste His resources. And B, He already planned goodness for this guy. And when it says Job got double, where did it come from? I was wondering about it. Where did it come from? You got double this and double that and double prosperity and double sheep and double everything. Man, talk about a prolific return on your investment of suffering. Because God is a good God. Isaiah 40, verse 29 says, He giveth power to the faint, and to them that have no might He increases strength. Paul said, when I'm weak, then I'm strong. He will give power to the faint. When you feel tired, when you feel down, when you feel like life's overweighing you, I'm telling you right now, no matter where you are, no matter how far, no matter how deeply you're crying because it hurts, no matter how far down inside you crawl, when you get there, You should find you and God having a conversation. I've been there, I know what I'm talking about. There comes a place where it's all gone, and you're left in the white. There's no more pretties. And you look God in the face and you say, that's where you are? Okay, fine. And then you rebuild again. You say to God, I'm faint, give me strength. You say to God, I'm weak, give me strength. You say, God, make me the best. I'll tell you right now, we have too much pride in our own souls. We want to feel like we made ourselves the best. That's that picture I have on one of my posters that shows the image of a self-made man. And it's a block of concrete. And what you have is the top half is a statue. Okay? And the statue is of a man with a hammer and a chisel. And he's bending over like this, chiseling out the bottom half of the concrete to try to finish the sculpture. It's the perfect image of a person trying to be a self-made man. You think you're going to carve yourself out right and make no mistakes. I guarantee you're going to look like one of them broken David things. The arm missing or whatever. God is the only one who's going to carve your sculpture right and get it right. So He has to empower your hands to do the work. But as long as you know He's in your hands, you're fine. Our God is able, willing, capable, and He's doing it. Isaiah 42:5. Thus saith God the Lord, He that created the heavens and stretched them out. He spread forth the earth and that which comes out of it. He giveth breath unto the people upon it, and spirit to them walk therein. So everybody go, thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. And if you start there, then your next step is spiritual breath. Thank you, God. Comes in from the spirit side in your soul. Jeremiah 31:35. Thus saith the Lord, which gives the sun for a light by day, and the ordinances of the moon and the stars for a light by night, which divides the sea when the waves thereof roar. The Lord of hosts is His name. You cannot stare at this creation and not see the handiwork of God's grace. I'm sorry. I mean, it's up there because He put it up there so that we would have it. Do you realize He could have created us in a world where there was no sun, no moon, and the light bulb hadn't been invented for 6,000 years, and we just kind of walked around doing this? No, He gives us times, He gives us seasons, He gives us light, heat, warmth. Every time I see a picture of another galaxy they've discovered, all I can do is go, it's awe. It's awe. There is no man that created that. And there's no big bang to put it out there. It's too pretty. I don't know, what do you think? Take a stick of dynamite, put it in a can, and blow it up and see what happens. Big bang. Ain't going to create a bunch of flying pieces of metal that look that pretty. I'm sorry. Moving on. Daniel 2:20-23. Daniel answers and said, Blessed be the name of God forever and ever, for wisdom and might are His. He changes times and seasons, He removes kings, He sets up kings, He gives wisdom unto the wise, knowledge to them that know understanding. He reveals the deep and secret things. He knows what's in the darkness, and the light dwelleth with Him. I thank Thee and praise Thee, O Thou God of my fathers, who hast given me wisdom and might, and hast made known unto me now what we desired of Thee. Catch that phrase. For Thou hast now made known unto us the king's matter. Story of Nebuchadnezzar and trying to get the answer to the dream. The prognosticators couldn't do it with their demons. Whoops. And you know how executives are. Well, if you can't produce the product, I'll find somebody who will. And that's exactly what happened. But notice what Daniel said. You have made known unto me now what we desired of Thee. I know you're the God that gives all the smarts. I know you're the God that interprets dreams. I know you're the God that's going to give me this stuff. I know this. and he's got a problem, and we're asking. That's why he could praise the way he did. That's why he could stand in the lion's den the way he did. Imagine how he probably went down those steps into the lion's den going, well, this is going to be interesting. If I die, I get to be with the Lord. If not, he's going to shut their mouths. I don't know. Maybe he was Pentecostal. Maybe he walked down the stairs with a bottle of anointing oil and said, shut up, lions! I'm kidding. Pentecostals didn't exist yet. But the point is, faith has that kind of power behind it. Has that kind of oomph. Walking down the stairs. Wouldn't you be terrified looking at them lions? Lions coming out to eat you. What lions? What lions? Goliath coming out to beat you. What Goliath? See, if you are seeing yourself as grasshopper, you're watching wrong TV show. You're supposed to look at those giants of the land and say, that's grasshopper. I'm warrior of God. I'm in God. I'm hidden in God. Nobody has a clue who I am in God. Daniel 4:25. Speaking of Nebuchadnezzar, interesting, the tail end of the verse. They shall drive thee from men, thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field, they shall make thee to eat grass as oxen, they shall wet thee with the dew of the heaven, and 7 times shall pass over thee, till thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and gives it to whosoever he will. You're mad. And Nebuchadnezzar was mad for 7 years. And when he came out of it, the first thing he said was, got it, got the point, thank you. It's plain and simple, got the point. You put us up, you put us down. Yeah, but I thought we voted him into office. I learned something watching this election. I'm still watching the stats. We voted, right? We vote for presidents, we vote for rulers, because we're a democracy. So God must not be in it, right? Really? Then why did the Pentecostal vote increase by, I think they said 13%? Yes, they track it. Their polls and all their things are tracking to see who voted for what. Catholic vote went up. Pentecostal vote went up. Reformation vote went up. Yeah, you can't plan that in your exit polls, can you? You know what I'm saying? They're hustling out there right now trying to figure out why the exit polls all went bad. The pre-polls that should have told us who the winner was when the time came. Whoops. Here come the people of God hiding in the corners again. We can't count for that. We can't even count for the fact that Democrats switched votes and started doing Republican voting. They had that all over the board. Democrats went against their own party saying, I ain't putting up with this. This is one time, and I've listened to them talk on the talk shows. This is one time I had to break and say, that vote had to go over there. God can just take those votes and, you know what I mean? He just works the hearts. You know, a little bit of piano work. That's all it is, a little bit of piano work. That's how God works. We made the decisions. God gave us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to make the decisions. Just because he doesn't come down from heaven and go, that was me, guys! I did that! You know, we think it's all us. Imagine if he did that every time he put a king up or took a king down. You know, boom! I took that one down. That was me. Praise me, please. See, that's what we would do. Come on, that's what we would do. That's what our ego would want to do. No, God's just subtle. He just goes, done. And to those who want to see it, and those who don't. But when we get to heaven, I guarantee you, we're going to have such an interesting view of history. We're going to have such an interesting view of church history, the Reformation. What looks bad isn't bad. What squishes expands. What builds up doesn't grow. If you're thinking about religion, you know, the stronger the edifice gets, the deader the people get. The flatter the edifice gets sometimes, the stronger the people get. In God, I'm talking about. It's just weird how all that history works out. It's God who takes a man up, puts a man down. You know, this guy that attacked you, I'm going to send him back home on a rumor. That's what he told Hezekiah. I'm going to send him back home on a rumor. He went home on a rumor and his own kids killed him. Whoops. Well, I guess I didn't that war, huh? God didn't kill him. God sent him home on a rumor. Nothing has changed, never will change, Old Testament to New Testament. John 3:34. He whom God has sent speaks the words of God, for God giveth not the Spirit by measure unto him. Speaking of Christ. Book of Acts chapter 10 says, Christ, a man anointed of God. He said himself, I didn't do this all by myself. I speak what the Father gives me to speak. I do what the Father tells me to do. I yield to the Father wherever I go. I am in the Father, and here I am. And what are you looking at? How long have I been with you? You don't see the Father? John 6:32, Jesus says unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, Moses gave you not that bread from heaven. Back to that manna verse. But my Father giveth you the true bread from heaven. The true bread from heaven. And you can have that bread. And this is a significant typological crossover. You've got to catch the significance of it. He equated himself to that manna. Okay? So Christ is being offered to you every single day to partake of as you need him. He is that manna. He is that bread that's been offered. He is that source of life. Because we are out here in a wilderness. Doesn't anybody notice? This world is one dry place. And the most that the world can offer you is some libation to make you go a little numb for a while, and that wears off and you go right back to wilderness again. It's dog eat dog, it's wolves, it's bark, it's cactus, it's prickly people. And what God's trying to say is, but I'll feed you, I'll water you, I'll take care of you, I'll give you spiritual life, I'll give you spiritual substance, I'll give you word, I'll give you knowledge, I'll give you understanding, I'll give you direction for your life, I'll give you leading, I'll tell you which way to go. A righteous man's steps are ordered of the Lord. I will walk you down there if I have to. Can you ask for anything better than that? Can anybody hearing all of that look at God and say, you're not a good God, you're not a generous God, you're not a really patient God? 1 Corinthians 15:57. Thanks be to God, which gives us the victory through our Lord Jesus Christ. There you have it. Our victory is not through our manpower. Behold the power of me, as you sink in the quicksand. Behold the power of He. Him. 1 Timothy 6:17. Charge them that are rich in this world, that they be not high-minded, nor trust in uncertain riches, but in the living God who gives us richly all things to enjoy. I had a part of a conversation yesterday, and the statement was, well, doesn't it seem a little bit wrong to think that God might actually give money or give resources? Is it wrong for God to get in the money business? No. I don't think so. He gives riches. But, so that we'd enjoy it, but not so that it rules us. Not so it becomes the icon we now worship. Not so that we bow down in front of it, or worse yet, get really high-minded. You know what high-minded is? You know what high-minded is. It's about this big. It's about that big around. It sits on your shoulders. Everybody can see it but you. That's high-minded. Don't trust in uncertain riches. And this is a significant passage too. And I never really thought about it a lot, except that the more we're watching this economy, it's obvious it's uncertain riches. People are losing money overnight in all kinds of ways. I have a friend who was investing in the tech stocks before they collapsed. He was about $30,000 ahead. He is now about $30,000 in the hole. Has not been able to recoup yet. Because he banked it all in what looked like the riding rocket, just like everybody else did. And it went from being the dash-com to the dot-com. And it collapsed. It didn't go anywhere. They thought it was going to dash all the way to the top, and it stopped. It's uncertain riches. James 1:5. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, that gives to all men liberally, and upbraideth not. We often forget that phrase. It doesn't rebuke you for asking. Isn't bothered by, why, God? Why? Huh? Why? How come? How? Huh? Why? How come? Why? Shut up, kid. Why? Shut up, kid. That's what we do. Why? No. He just goes, keep asking. I got a billion answers to why. James 4:6. He gives more grace. Wherefore he saith, God resists the proud, but gives grace unto the humble. 1 Peter 4:11. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of God. If any man minister, let him do it as the ability which God gives, that God in all things may be glorified through Jesus Christ. There's your answer. Who's going to get the credit when the time's over? He is. Through his Son. God is a blesser. God is a blesser. Psalm 115, verse 1. Not unto us, O Lord, not unto us, but unto thy name give glory for thy mercy and thy truth's sake. Wherefore should the heathen say, where is now their God? But our God is in the heavens. He has done whatsoever he has pleased. Their idols are silver and gold, the works of men's hands. They have mouths, but they speak not. Eyes have they, but they see not. They have ears, but they hear not. Noses have they, but they smell not. They have hands, but they handle not. Feet have they, but they walk not. Neither speak they through their throat. They that make them are like unto them. Ooh, ouch. And that runs into the New Testament where he says, I've spoken to them in parables because in hearing they don't see and in seeing they don't smell. And he was alluding back. You're dumb statues, that's what you are. Yep. So is everyone that trusts in them. O Israel, trust thou in the Lord. He is their help and their shield. O house of Aaron, trust thou in the Lord. He is their help and their shield. Ye that fear the Lord, trust in the Lord, that he is their help and shield. The Lord hath been mindful of us. He will bless us. He will bless the house of Israel. Israel, meaning prevailer with God. He will bless. He will bless the house of Aaron. He will bless them that fear the Lord, small and great. No respecter of persons. He doesn't care about your station. He doesn't care if you're an adult or a kid. He doesn't care if you're lamed, halted, or fully functional. The Lord shall increase you, and this is what you got to hang into, more and more, you and your children. Ye are blessed of the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He wants to grow us more and more. He wants us, according to the New Testament, to take us from faith to faith. He wants to move us from glory to glory. He wants to continually be upgrading us. That having been said, what idiot wouldn't get on that wagon train? Hop on that speedboat. Get in that airplane and get up there. Buy a ticket now. Psalm 128:1. Blessed is everyone that fears the Lord, that walks in his ways. Blessed. Blessed. Want blessings? Telling you how. Revelation 1:3. Blessed is he that readeth, and they that hear the words of this prophecy, and keep those things which are written therein, for the time is at hand. Revelation 22:14. Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right, catch that, right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city. Ephesians 1:3. Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who has blessed us with all spiritual blessings in heavenly places in Christ. The kingdom of heaven has been handed to you, the keys have been given to you, and it's all available. We're selling ourselves short. We're the ones falling short of the glory. We're the ones not continuing to run and grab and grab and grab until we get it all. But it's not a limited supply on the giver's side. That's right. And it's not a stinginess on the heart of the giver. Galatians 3:8. And the scripture, foreseeing that God would justify the heathen through faith, preached before the gospel unto Abraham, saying, in thee shall all nations be blessed. Catch that. Old Testament passage about a natural blessing applied to the spiritual. In thee shall all nations be blessed. Verse 9. So then, they which be of faith are blessed with faithful Abraham. And what was Abraham told? Wherever you put the sole of your foot, it's yours. Whatever you need, I'll give it. Your seed's going to be so multitudinous, you ain't going to be able to count it. Your blessing's going to be so great that kings are going to pour into your coffers. All you got to do is come walk with me out here in the wilderness for a while and wait. God is not slack. It says, God says to us that we must believe that He is a rewarder. Right? Hebrews 11:6 is the verse, in case you want to know. Without faith it is impossible to please Him. For he that comes to God must believe that He is, and that He is a rewarder of them that diligently seek Him. Always that price tag of the word continual, diligent, or continuing action in the Greek, if you want to look, go grammatically, seek, knock, ask, and continuing action. There's always this little hookup. Don't stop till you get it. Revelation 22:12. Behold, I come quickly. My reward is with me, to give every man according to his work shall be. That means God's got this amazing accounting record He's keeping. And He knows exactly what the rewards are. He knows exactly what He's going to dispense before He arrives. We don't know. That's why it is that it's never entered into the heart of man what's been prepared for him, Scripture says. He can reveal it to us by the Spirit. He can give us a clue. He can give us some taste of it. He can give us a little smell of it. He can give us a little aroma of that loaf of bread up there somewhere. That smells good. Apple pie. Where is it? I don't know. Somewhere nearby. You know what I mean? Music dimly playing somewhere off in the distance. It's beautiful music, and you can't find it. And it's like, I can hear it, but it's coming from where? Is it coming from a car? Is it coming from a building? Is it coming from the sky? Where's it coming from? That's us. That's us down here sensing the things about God. He's saying, I haven't revealed the whole thing to you, but I'm giving you just enough an inheritance, just enough a little bag of dirt to let you know that it's real. I'm giving you just enough to touch to know. You take me at my word, you not only get this, but you get that later. And you have no way of knowing what that later is. It is so big. Colossians 3:24, knowing that of the Lord you shall receive the reward of the inheritance, for ye serve the Lord Christ. Rich daddy, big inheritance. Kid. 1 Corinthians 9:17, for if I do this thing willingly, Paul speaking, I have a reward. There's your clue. Do it willingly. But if against my will, a dispensation of the gospel is committed unto me. Right, you got to do it anyway. Paul understood that. He says, let's see, my choices are do it willingly and be rewarded, or do it because the boss told me I gotta. Volunteer, please, volunteer. Don't wait till it comes down to you not doing it. No. Step up to the plate. Ask the Lord what He wants to do with you. God can use you wherever you are. Wherever you are. Wherever you are. Doesn't matter whether you're in government. Doesn't matter whether you're in business. Doesn't matter whether you're self-employed. Doesn't matter whether you're military. Doesn't matter. Because wherever we are the light to the world if we've accepted the light of the world. Mm-hmm. And we get to be the blessers. 1 Corinthians 3:14, if any man's work abide, which he has built thereon, he shall receive a reward. So, what's he saying? Come to me for wisdom, knowledge, understanding, so what you build is good, so I can give you a reward. To put it another way, I'm both the author and the finisher of your faith. Let me author it. Let me finish it. Give in. Luke 6:35. Love your enemies and do good. Lend, hoping for nothing again, and your reward shall be great. And you shall be the children of the highest, for He is kind unto the unthankful and to the evil. Oh, do I gotta? Do I got to be nice to that jerk?
Yeah.
Do I got to be nice to that idiot?
No.
Do I got to be nice to that stupid person? Do I got to be nice to that... You know where I'm going, don't you? That's what we say. And God says, let me read that to you again. I am, and they're fighting me. So shouldn't you? And didn't you fight me when we all started this? What if I, as God, had decided I didn't want to chase after you to save your soul? What if I just decided you weren't worth saving? What if I just decided, no, I don't want to invest the interest in it right now? Really don't care if you come to me. I just don't care. I'll leave you behind. That's a chilling statement. God knew. God knew when He created the creation. He knew He was going to have to be on our doorstep 24/7. That's why He was right there the next day after Adam and Eve did the you-know-what to the you-know-where to the you-know-who with you-know-who. You know what I'm saying? He was right there the next day. He didn't wait a week. He didn't wait a year. He could have sat up there in heaven and said, yep, they broke covenant with me and I'm not showing up for the next 1,000. Because to me a day is 1,000, you know. To them it'll be 1,000. Yeah, maybe in a day. He was right there. Right there. Got to get this fixed and get it moving on right. Put it back in order. Our God is a faithful God. Our God is a persistent God. Our God is a willing God. Luke 6:23, almost done. Rejoice ye in that day and leap for joy, for behold, your reward is great in heaven. For in the like manner did their fathers unto the prophets. Can you guess what the verse was before it? Okay, so you might get beaten up, pummeled, persecuted, chased, haunted, and hated. But your reward is great in heaven. Hang in there. Pie in the sky? Are you kidding? I get the whole bakery. Mark 9:41. Whosoever shall give of you a cup to drink in my name. No, it says that. Whosoever giveth to you a cup of water to drink in my name, because you belong to Christ, verily I say unto you, he shall not lose his reward. So, if somebody does good for the preacher, somebody does good for the saint, somebody does good for the church, somebody does good for the body of Christ, guess what? God said, 1 point there. Somebody's heavenly bank account, as it were, went to ching. I have somebody who blessed me this week. Just blessed me out of nowhere, a little task. I didn't ask for it to be done. I was willing to answer questions. I reaped back a natural. Fair enough. But he reaped back a reward. Right answer. You know what I'm saying? We don't realize, we got to stop this natural measuring and weighing thing that we do. We got to realize that we got this very big giving God who is the one who's going to do the accounts at the end. You know, he's going to come in out of nowhere, you know, the ERS, the Eternal Revenue Service, and he's going to come in and he's going to balance all those books and he's going to say who owes what. And he's going to transfer what's owed to where it's owed. And he's going to make sure that those to whom it belongs, it will be given. So you got to realize you may not always get a 1-for-1 down here. You might get a 1-for-5 up there. You might get a 1-for-1 down here. You might get a 5-for-1 down here. Don't measure. You can't. The giver will measure, and it will be 100% satisfying, because he knows exactly how to recompense you for your pain. Says your tears are up in a bottle. Says the prayers are put into an incense bin. The imagery is in an incense censer to be dumped before God so that he sees all the prayers. All imageries to tell you, I collected it all. I'm hanging on to it all. I know every tear. I know every grief. I know every goodness. I know every blessing you do. I'm watching every bit of it. See, it goes way beyond doing right and wrong. It goes way beyond do I obey or disobey. It goes all the way up to how do I relate to this infinite being and his infinite goodness. Matthew 6:4, that thy alms may be in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret himself shall reward thee openly. Never underestimate the power of what you do privately. Private help, private giving, private prayer, private support that nobody ever pats you on the back for. Because He will reward openly. Matthew 6:6. When thou prayest, enter into thy closet. When thou shut thy door, pray to thy Father which is in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly. I don't need to know about your prayer times. I don't need to hear about your prayer experiences, although they're kind of fun to listen to. I just care that when you close that door, you go into that room, you go into that place, that you say to the Lord, here's what needs to be done. Here's what I'm asking you to do. Give them that land. Send them that victory. Conquer those enemies. Root out those. Fix that. Heal that. Do this. Do that. Do this. And realize you can command that way because God says, I'm ready to give what you need. Right. You're not pushing God around. How can you push a generous God around? I mean, the guy walked up with a big fat truck full of goodies and said, anybody want diamonds? And we walked up and go, I don't know. Can I ask for that? You know what I mean? Come on. If De Beers decided to bring his truck full of diamonds down the street and says, 2 diamonds per member of the household, I've decided to liquidate, and before God, all my resources. Everybody gets 2 diamonds. Step right up. You know what we're going to do? We're going to, I don't need a diamond. Thanks very much. Have a nice day. No, we're not. We won't. We won't. I'm trying to say to you that that's our attitude. That's our attitude. We're not pushing God, chasing God, manipulating God. We're responding to God. And we're saying to Him, fine, you want to bless me, bless me. You want to fill me, fill me. You want to give me goodness, give me goodness. And then when He says to you, can I have that thing in your pocket that you really shouldn't be carrying with you? Oh, no, that's my favorite pet whatever, you know. That's my favorite pet whatever. That's my, oh, no, I need that blade to protect myself from bad guys. Yeah, but you see, the problem is your pocket's full. Give me what's in your pocket. Hand over that sin. Hand over that weakness. Hand over that thing. Hand it over, and you'll have a hole. Yeah, I'll have a hole in my pocket. I'm a pocket with nothing. Good. Now, you see that truck over there? Go get it. I don't know how many times through 30 years of walking with God, I've had people come up to me and tell me in some form or other that they had some kind of an experience before God where God said to them, by the way, that gift is yours. Go into that room and get that one. Roberts Lairdon says God took him as an 8-year-old up and said, see this storehouse full of stuff? You're going to need this for the rest of your life. I need you to distribute this to the people. As an 8-year-old, to let him know that his ministry for the rest of his life is going to be healing and delivering and doing things for people. He's done it all his life. But he showed him storehouses. Showed him vaults. How many times does God have to tell us, I'm bigger than you. I'm richer than you. I'm happier than you. I'm available. No, we want to always focus down here on the angry Thor God that reminds us of our parent or our grandparent or our governor or our priest or whatever. Scrap all human comparisons, please, to God. Erase them, please. They're all finite. I don't care whether it's the pope, the priest, the pastor, the person, the pew person, the church person, the parent. None of them can represent 100% to you what God is going to represent to you because He's so vast. Accepting that as a premise, I guarantee you, you will walk happier, you will walk stronger, you will find yourself increasing. Matthew 6:18. When you fast, it's talking about fasting, do not appear unto men to fast, but unto thy Father which is in secret. And thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly. So there you have it. Do your alms in secret, your prayers in secret, and your fasting in secret. Now, you stop to think about it, that's 3 things that we tend to like to boast about. Do you know how much money I gave to charity? I gave $42 million to the Witsa Tootsie Fund. Well, that's nice, dear. And we all applaud you. Thank you very much. And God goes, You know what I'm saying? Do you know how much I sacrificed for you kids? Do you know how long and what I endured and how I had to not eat and drink and how I had to fast for your future? Thanks, Dad, Mom, Granddad, Uncle, Aunt, friend. Appreciate the sacrifice. I know you sacrificed. But from a certain point of view, God goes, little yawn. Yeah, you did. Good heart. I'll reward you for it even, but, you know. No, here's what I want my people to do. I want you to be silent. I want you to slip into the invisible with the invisible God. Because you see, I don't come down and brag. Be like me. I'm just going to give the blessing, and I'm going to give the reward, and I'm not going to say anything in between about it was me. And when I do come down and say, by the way, that was me, it's going to be to increase your faith. And that's not even for me. That's for you. That's so you'll know that I did it, so that you'll feel a little stronger asking for more. That's why he gives us experiences. That's why visions and dreams and all this stuff that he gives, and he really does do that, is he's trying to say, I'm just trying to show you it's okay. I'm trying to increase your faith. I'll never forget the one from Meltari. I've got to throw this one in real quick. Okay, I'm over time, but one real quick. Meltari, man of God, him and his buddies have been ministering really hard in Indonesia, really hard. And they were drip dry, wrung out, tired, ministry wrenched. And God put them into a vision where they got to sit on a beach. I think it was a beach, and there was water, and they were, of course, out in the desert in Indonesia. And they got to see this beautiful sunrise, and there was no message. And Mel was confused. And he said, I don't understand. You're not talking. You're not telling us anything. You just put us, and they were all in the same vision. Apparently it was a multi-vision, like Mount of Transfiguration type. He said, and they finally said, I said, Lord, why are we here? Are you going to say something or not? The Lord said, no, I was just giving you some rest. You've been working hard. I wanted you to relax a little bit. I laughed. I heard that story, read that story 20 years ago. That was the bottom line of it. I'm paraphrasing because I can't quote it perfectly, but that's what it was. It was a vacation. Short, spiritual, fed them up, filled them up, gave them joy. When the vision ended, they went back to work. I'm trying to say that our God understands. I'm trying to say that our God is not withholding. I'm trying to say that our God is always going to be there for us. One last verse, Ecclesiastes 7:12. Wisdom is a defense, money is a defense, but the excellency of knowledge is that wisdom giveth life to them that have it. I have just given you the most valuable thing that I can possibly give you. Knowledge that produces life. I've now given you wisdom, which will defend you. It will give you a defense when your mind's being assaulted. And God is going to give you the rest of the defenses, because money's a defense, spirit's a defense, there's a whole lot more defense. Or should I say, a whole lot to the defense. Thank you, Lord, for this message. Got the point. Ask you, Lord, to carry it with us wherever we go, because we need to live this message. And help us, Lord, to not be so fearful and worrisome, and help us, Lord, to easily surrender over the things that you ask of us with our one hand, so that we can receive back from you with our other hand that which you're trying to hand us. We love you, and we appreciate you. In Jesus' name, amen.